Ever since the first live-action Transformers film came out in the late 2000s, Paramount really has milked this franchise for all it's worth. We've gotten 6 sequels. One of those is which is like a soft or maybe hard reboot of the entire thing with Bumblebee. And yeah, these movies ran out of steam at some point. I have a soft spot in my heart for the first 3 and have thoughts on all of them. So let's discuss the latest Transformers movie, Rise of the Beasts. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Before we get started, red subscribe button, notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new piece of content. Okay, so the Transformers franchise. The original came out in the late 2000s. I think it was 2007, 2008. I love that movie. Saw it 4 times in the theater. Saw it once at the IMAX here in Seattle well before I even considered moving here. And I love that movie. I think it's a mess, and I think it's got a lot of problems. But in terms of like nostalgia, 80s, 90s nostalgia, movie's awesome. Huge fan. Could watch it any day of the week, and I do really like it. The sequel suffered from a lot of problems. There was a writer's strike going on when it was being written, and it's a mess. It's a complete mess, and I freaking love it. The third film, Dark of the Moon, I love that movie. People like to dunk on it. Hey, maybe this series is running out of steam. I think that's actually the best. I think that's the best of the first 3 films. I really do. It's got just the right amount of humor. They completely decimate Chicago. Not that that's a good thing, but like it's cool seeing the complete devastation of an entire city by all of these evil robots. And I love that one. I love all the government conspiracy theory stuff. I love that it kind of goes off the rails, and I just adore that movie. And then things go south. Transformers: Age of Extinction is absolutely awful. It is a terrible movie, and I can't defend any of that movie. It's complete hot garbage. And then The Last Night is also hot garbage, but like slightly less hot garbage than Age of Extinction. I think both those movies are pretty bad. And at that point, you could tell Paramount just wanted the money. I mean, they always just wanted the money, but you could tell they really just wanted the money in those last 2 movies. And then Bumblebee came out a couple years ago. It was directed by Phil Knight's son, Travis Knight, and it was great. I really liked Bumblebee. I think it leaned a little bit too hard into the nostalgia, and I think that movie really sets up perfectly what we get with this film. And so the question is, do I love or hate Rise of the Beasts? And long story short, I freaking love it. I freaking love it. From like a critical standpoint, I should sit up here and say that I hate this movie and it's garbage, but I don't believe that. I genuinely loved this film. Is it perfect? No. Does it suffer from all of the cheesy stereotypes that come with a movie like this? Yes. But from an execution standpoint, from a character standpoint, and a story standpoint, this is the best these movies have ever been. So it took them 7 times to get here, but this is as close to as you're going to get to a live-action version of the original Transformers animated movie, which I think came out in 1980, and the show, like the Transformers animated show. So here's what I love about this movie. I think the performances are all really good. I was shocked at how good Pete Davidson was as Mirage. He's kind of like the lead Autobot here, and he's like delightful. He completely carries the movie. He's really funny. He's super engaged, and you can just tell he's having a really good time. Peter Dinklage as the bad guy is awesome. This is a much more complex and nuanced villain than any of the other ones. I like that Megatron and Starscream are nowhere to be found. I don't even think the Decepticons are mentioned at all here. Instead, we have the Terracons, we have the Maximals, which are like the Beast Transformers, and there's actually a story here that's fun and engaging, and that's just something that has been missing from these movies for far too long. So here's how I kind of see it. I see you have the first 3, right, and then the 2 sequels. So you have the first 5 movies. The first 3 of those are I love, and then the last 2 are trash, and then Bumblebee, it seems like is a hard reboot because it wipes out everything we know from the previous films. And this, unless I'm missing something, there's a line in here that alludes to the fact that this is a sequel to Bumblebee. And now we're really getting into this series becoming fun again. And I really love what they do with Prime here. Optimus Prime in the first movie is kind of a pushover. He has all his, tough guy leadership quotes, and then he just gets absolutely decimated by Megatron in the end. They compensated for that in the second film by making him way too overpowered. They continue that into the last three films, the last three films: Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, and Last Night. And then he just became like this kind of cheesy one-note quote machine, and I think it really actually did a disservice to that character's legacy. And in this movie, he's basically perfect. And by perfect, I don't mean flawless. I mean the opposite. He's flawed. He is still kind of trying to figure out who he wants to be. He's a leader, but he tends to be too hard on himself. Like, he's not this just one-note, boring, stereotypical character anymore. And I love that. He's flawed. He's a bit broken on the inside. And I think actually giving the Autobots and the Terracons and the Maximals a little bit of depth and backstory, I think really does it. It's really, really great. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. The title of this movie is really dumb. That's just a fact. But everything else is great. The movie looks awesome. The fight sequences here are amazing. The Transformers, the effects, the music. The music here is genuinely awesome too. And I love this movie. I can't wait to see it again. And it's been since Dark of the Moon that I've actually wanted to watch one of these movies more than once, including Bumblebee, which is great. So big fan of this one. I hope they don't screw it up with whichever sequel they do next. Unicron here is awesome. All of the voice work from the Autobots, the Decepticons, or the Terracons, and the Maximals is on point. Ron Perlman is fantastic as Optimus Primal. There's just a lot to love here, and this really could have been a wet fart, but I think it was a home run. So big fan of this one. Thanks so much for checking out the video. If you liked it, found it helpful, I hope you would consider subscribing. You can also like and share the video. That tells the powers that be that's worth promoting. And hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think of Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. And I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.